Hello, my name is Troy Adu here,
I'm Tyler Hoskins.
and you're listening to our Sick Ass Podcast. Kia ora, and welcome to another in-guest episode of the Sick Ass Podcast. This is a huge honour for me, and I'm so lucky to have this guest in today. We only just met a few days ago, and I am the most nervous I have ever been, but it's awesome. She's taking care of me, actually. I think she's going to interview me during this one, because I'm coming on to my own podcast, freaking out. But anyway, today's guest is the young celebrity, Jazz Hotham. Thank you for coming on.
Take away the celebrity, but hi, everyone.
Alrighty, so I think if anyone doesn't know who you are, they will know who you are shortly. They're probably gonna get an influx of Instagram followers from our huge 2 listeners. But so I guess where you get to in terms of you as an athlete, as a very successful national athlete, all of that comes with a huge backstory, right? So what we like to do is just to try to, make you a little bit more relatable to everyone else, is just go through your backstory of, I guess some leadership roles that you had when you were at high school and kind of where footy or rugby actually came into your life.
So I wouldn't say I have a huge backstory. I'm 20 years old, so very, very young still. I started at Hamilton Girls High. I was always a touch and soccer player, but year 10, the sevens coaches said, look, there's rugby sevens in the Olympics now, so why don't you come give it a go? You can't go anywhere with touch. So started sevens, and I think I just fell in love with it. It was so much like touch. There was so much space on the field, only 7 people. And then played it through high school, and then in year 13 I was lucky enough to pick up a training contract with the Black Ferns Sevens while I was still at school. At the same time, I was deputy head girl and sports captain. So year 13, the principal was lucky enough to let me only take 4 subjects, and that left a free period, and then another period I was able to just train, do what I want. And then at the end of year 13, picked up a full-time contract with the Black Ferns Sevens.
Cool.
And,
So you were pretty sussed, or not really sussed, but you knew after year 13 that, you were probably going to put a lot of effort into playing rugby?
Yes, one thing I've just kind of realised through COVID, I guess in school, I did enjoy school, but I think I did put all my eggs in one basket. Sevens was my entire life. My dad would always say, school first, sport's a priority. Oh, sport is a privilege, school's a priority. But to me, I thought, sport's my entire world. School can just, if I have time later on tonight, do my homework. But it wasn't until really this year where I've realised sport isn't going to last forever.
No, that's awesome, and I think being able to pick that up is quite important, even though you're only 20, but you're saying something that people in their 30s just realise now, and I think for you to have that head on your shoulders, it's a really cool thing. I just want to go back a little bit to your schooling days. So you said they kind of rearranged school for you so that you could focus on being an athlete. What is it like, being a student and trying to balance, having friends, having that social life, but also doing your academic work, any other co-curricular stuff that's not sport? What is that like? Because you're a leader in school, but you're also not your average student.
I think I cannot say it was myself, being very honest. I was hugely lucky to have such a big support system around me.
Absolutely.
Had my dad, if you know my dad, he was always breathing down my back. What are your marks? Are you training? How many times are you going to the gym? In that sense, but I also had teachers that truly cared about me.
That's cool.
And actually saw what I was all about. They saw me wanting to pursue sevens as a career, and they were really good in that sense that lots of my schooling work ended up online. I was able to do it when I could do it, so I I'd go to Black Ferns camps for a week. At the same time, I had all my work online. They really did work around me.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I think also the leadership roles, being in that environment, Black Fern Sevens environment, allow me to bring something extra into, say, sporting, my sports captain role. I really wanted to put values behind our jerseys. So whether it was netball, cricket, basketball, that was my biggest thing for the year. I wanted to make the jersey something extra special for our school, because I know putting on a black jersey, it means so much to you. I wanted that to be the same for our school jerseys.
That's cool. So just with that, I mean, it's such a broad concept, because every time people do get into sporting, I think, you know, the culture that comes with the team that you're playing for or the club that you play for, you know, that kind of is instilled. And when you put on that jersey, you're not just, you know, everyone's talked about it, where you're not just putting that jersey on to say that I am a hooker or whatever the number is on your back. So for your school and everyone putting on, you know, the uniform, what types of values did you want to instill in those people?
Biggest thing is we talked about the crest, our school crest, and what each part of the crests mean. And so the lion, if you know Hamilton Girls High crest, the lion means courage, the sash means service, and the star means excellence. But no one in our school actually knew that. So I thought, what better way to provide values to someone putting on a jersey than you actually understanding what you're putting on every time you wear the crest, what you're representing when you go on the field. So that was my biggest thing, and I was just lucky that I had the experience of playing at a representative level in touch and sevens, that I knew that feeling, and I wanted, whether girls wanted to play representative level or not, or just wanted to play on a Saturday, I wanted everyone to know that feeling.
Yeah, that's so cool, and it gives everyone something greater to play for. So we're not just there like, okay, 80 minutes, that was cool. It's like everything that you do leading up to that point, your life is like, this is what we do it for. And I think that's really, it's awesome, because every single person's going to have a different meaning behind what it is to be courageous. Whereas some people just like, oh, I don't belong here, but you gave that. And I think that's, gosh, you sure you were only like 17? You're not like been put in a time capsule and brought back. But yeah, so I just want to go back one more time. So you went from touch going into playing sevens, and then you just excelled from there and pretty much was identified early as someone having potential. Do you want to talk about that shift from touch into sevens, and then sevens kind of becoming the rest of your life?
Yeah, so when I was 16, I was lucky enough to play for the Touch Black Women's, represent them in a Trans Tasman. And it's funny, when I was about 5, 6, 7, my dream was to be a professional touch player. Little did I realise that you pay for touch. Every tournament you play, you pay for. So I realised quickly that that's not really a dream. But touch and sevens, it was so transferable that I guess I didn't have that touch dream, but sevens, there's this huge path that I could take, and I guess when I found that path, I was pretty glued to it.
Yeah, and how did you adjust to contact?
It's funny. My very first debuting tournament, when I was year 10, was the Auckland Pacific Island Under-15s tournament.
Right.
So it was the best training I probably could have asked for. It was either you tackle low and try get the legs, otherwise you let these girls run straight through you or fend you. So yeah, I learnt pretty quickly, really.
You learnt pretty quickly.
Plus I have 3 brothers, so having them try wrestle, tackle me around the house, that was also some real good practice.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of with my cousins and stuff, and we'd always just play, and that's kind of like, I've never learnt this anywhere, but this is good. So when you get picked up and you do go into some sort of academy system and people do give you that extra sort of support, did you find when you went into different camps, when you came back to your regular club mates who probably didn't have the same exposure, you just saw how much better you got?
Yeah, well, it's actually interesting. So, in the girls' system, when I was at school, there was no such thing as academies or anything. It was just you played high school, then you played women's club rugby, and then representative. So I think that there was a really big gap there, because when I did go into the Black Ferns environment, I know you'd be able to speak more on it, is academies, they drill into you nutrition, recovery, how to be, writing down notes, lots of stuff, how to be a rugby player off the field. And I think that there's a big gap for girls, that you don't get that, and then you're chucked in this New Zealand environment, and you have to kind of play catch-ups. Did you find that?
No, that would make a lot of sense, and I think what you're saying as well is that it's a difficult thing, because you go from living one lifestyle, and then you get put into something else, and then it's just like so many different things just get chucked on you at the same time. It can become quite overwhelming. So for you, I guess, how did you manage all of those extra things that didn't come with the responsibility of becoming a national player?
Once again, I was so lucky being surrounded by such amazing people. In the Black Ferns, biggest thing there is the culture. We always strive for an amazing culture. I got put with Kelly Brazier, an amazing rugby sevens player, and she was my mentor for the first 3 months, and she kind of took me under her wing, and I really learnt quickly. I guess also being in that environment, you can't not ask questions, otherwise you're going to be left behind, and you're going to have to play catch up. So she was amazing, as well as there's Tarina, Te Tamaki, Tanika Willison, Sheree Tane, 3 ex-Hamilton Girls High girls.
Right.
So I knew them already, and they've been in the environment for a few years, so it was easy just to go to them and have them as my support, really.
And you've had senior leadership, I guess, and they took you under, and they really helped you become a player that you are today. But I think we were talking about this earlier. You said you're in a very fortunate position, and in terms of timing, did you want to talk about where the game, or how the game has evolved for especially females coming through?
So when I was at school, the Olympics, it was the first year. 2016 was the first year that Women's Sevens was introduced into the Olympics, and I know a few years before that, the senior girls in the Black Fern Sevens team, there was no money to fund sevens, women's sevens, so they really had to take a risk whether they wanted to join and be a part of that and try and make that Olympics team, and hopefully maybe somewhere they can get some money together. And they did, and then after the Olympics there was just really this huge acceleration in developing the women's rugby game. In terms of contracting, money, everything around that. And then I'm so fortunate to have come into a time where you sign a contract and you become a fully professional athlete. I don't think a lot of people still don't know that the Black Fern Sevens is a full-time job. So tell us about being a full-time athlete and what that involves, because I'm guessing because it's a job, you have a salary and you're going to have different responsibilities. So what are the types of things that you have to do to uphold your end of the bargain? So we are centralised in Mount Maunganui, amazing place to live. And so the first thing is really just living. I came straight out of school into, flatting, and that was an experience in itself. Absolutely. Learning how to cook your own meals. You don't have your mum cooking your meals. Paying rent, just being independent, everything outside of rugby, as well as just organising how you're getting to training. Obviously, I didn't have a car then. And then also just how to immerse yourself into that culture. The team's obviously been together for a long time, and coming in as a 17-year-old, it was hard at the beginning to try immerse yourself, trying to find your place in the team. But I guess over time, you realise you just have to be yourself.
Yeah. And in being yourself, I guess over time you start to see that, like, if you keep trying to make people like you, you kind of, it does the opposite of what you think it's going to do. So I guess as a team culture, what are the types of things that you see as your role bringing into, like, everything that enmeshes the culture of that team? Is there anything that everyone's like, yeah, Jazz has got us?
Well, it definitely wouldn't be on the dancing or singing. I'm definitely not on that. I think definitely we talk about knowing your taiaha. So knowing your strength, knowing why are you in this team. And me going from school, I didn't really reflect on that. I just kind of thought, I'm obviously somehow good at rugby, so that's why I'm in this team. But it wasn't till I really dove deep into why am I in this team? What are the strengths in my rugby? What are my strengths outside of rugby? And that's where you find your place in the team. So I was sitting down realising I don't have to change anything about what I did in school. So my biggest thing is growth. I'm someone, I love to grow.
Good.
And I'm always asking questions. How can I grow? How can I be better than, what I was? And I think that's something was perfect for the Black Ferns environment. I'm always asking people, what can I do? How can I get better? And just knowing your values, I think, is the biggest thing. Is they shouldn't change in the environment you're in. When you know we talk about this with our psychologist, having your 3 key main values, and you should be able to use them anywhere in any environment. They should be the same. So I think that was the biggest thing for me.
Did you have 3, or are you allowed to put them out there, or do you keep them to yourself?
Yeah, well, mine is growth, having a growth mindset.
Very good.
Gratitude is whatever training, wherever you are, just realising and acknowledging what you're grateful for around you. And also courage. In the environment, there's some dark times, when you're running up and down the field. There's been many dark times, but having the courage to step outside your comfort zone, put your hand up. Those are my 3.
Well, I'd say it's pretty courageous just to even accept a contract sometimes. Like, people can give you stuff and it's really easy to be like, I don't deserve that, blah, 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 blah. So it's quite, you put your hand up to actually be there and then be the best that you can be with those values that you have. Now, dark times, you not literally, sorry, you actually had quite I'd say for most people could be a huge step back. So back in 2018, you suffered an injury, and it was in close timing with something that could have been quite huge for you, and it was quite huge. I mean, you still went away and you're still being able to be here now, but could you just run us through what was going through the mind of Jazz at that time? So
in 2018, year 13, it's supposed to be your prime year. You do everything. It's best schooling year of your life. And it was the very first year that there was a New Zealand under 18s sevens team, girls sevens team, and our plan was to go to the Youth Olympics. No team's ever done that before, so it was this huge dream, that we're going to take this group of girls to the Youth Olympics and hopefully bring back a gold medal. And then a week before we were supposed to fly out, I had played a game of rugby and dislocated my shoulder really badly. And I tried all different ways, asking different physios, but surely I can just strap it up and play. Right. But it was definitely a no-go. And yeah, I was lucky enough, all those that sponsored me said, go to the Youth Olympics and support your team. And like I was saying before, it was the best therapy I could ever ask for. Watching my team take the field and win a gold medal, it was like the weirdest emotion. Like, you're so incredibly happy, but so incredibly sad at the same time, because you're not out there, you haven't achieved it with them. But yeah, and then after that I got shoulder surgery, and I'd been planned to be out of rugby for 6 months. The next biggest thing was, obviously I'd been on a training contract that year, but I hadn't been signed for the next year, so I really thought my rugby dream was, out at that point. But 2 days after I got my surgery, got a call from Alan Bunting, the coach, and he asked how I was, and I was like, oh no, here's the call, he's going to tell me that, sorry, but... And then he said, would like you to be a part of our team next year full-time. We want to help you recover and get back to the player, we see potential in you, whatever. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I nearly dislocated my shoulder again, just throwing my arms up. Like, I was, in tears, and I was like, yes. And yeah, that's
really cool. And I think, like you said, I think a lot of it does come down to, you have to pat yourself on the back for the fact that you've shown your potential up to that point, where you can even get injured, and instead of them thinking about replacing you, they're like, nope, we can get you back up. But also you talked about the good therapy. I mean, that is a bittersweet thing, where you see the team that you've been building with win, but you like, was I part of that? All that sort of stuff, and all those sort of things happen. I just want to know, though, what happens in the mind of someone who feels like everything could have just been taken away from them at that moment, and how did you deal with it? Obviously prior to the call, because after the call you're like, time to put it in, but up until that point, how did you deal with all those emotions?
It's actually funny. So I'd done my shoulder. It had been out for 5 hours, had bad nerve damage down my arm, and the next 2 days, it had been the first day, my parents kind of left me alone to be in my room, cry, do what I needed. And then the next day my dad came in my room and he said, this is your last day for feeling sorry for yourself, and that's it. No more crying, no more feeling bad for yourself. You're going to start planning what you're going to do from now on. And I think that's don't tell him this, but that's exactly what I needed. I needed someone to say, this isn't the end. It's what's next. What have you, you want to be, you don't want to be known as Jazmin the rugby player. It's, what are you, and obviously I still had my down days, missing out on my last condors, my last touch nets, lots of different things, but I guess as soon as I started my Black Ferns journey the year after, I was on a mission to be the best, be the best person to recover as I could. I can't be the best sevens player I can right now. As well as that, I know going to touch nets, going to condors, it was how can I be the best person I can for this team. Obviously I was lucky enough to captain them the year before, but I can't play. How can I make them the best I possibly can? So I think just having that mindset, and as well as that, it was the people around me that was really pushing me to kind of challenging me. No one felt sorry for me, which is what I needed. They were challenging me. How can you be better? And I guess once again that comes down to values.
Absolutely. And you had that growth mindset where the whole time it's like, this is not me, this does not define me, and with everything that I do have, I can still be a really great person. And I think I feel like, not that I can speak for you, but I feel like you had a different determination when you got given that second chance. Whereas most people, you know, if you just coast all the way through, you're like, okay, I'm doing my best. But until people say, we want you to show us that you can do what you can do, that you can bring that next level of your game. So, you know, we're full time now. And what does a day or a week in a life look like for you?
So a week looks like we train Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thursday we have a PD day, personal development day, where you're required to do 4 hours of developing yourself personally, and then train Friday, and then you have the weekend off to go see family, do what you need to do for the week coming. Yeah, so
the PD, I mean, training and stuff, people probably have a fair idea on what that looks like, but the PD stuff is something that's I think it's quite ingrained into athletes now, because we realise that it's not just your physical self, but it's like how your mind works with the rest of your body. So what are the types of things that you have been doing as part of your PD requirements?
Yeah, so we have someone in charge of kind of assisting us in each of our personal developments, which is amazing. We have had heaps of different workshops, so around public speaking, how to save money, how do you buy a house, relationships, lots of mental stuff. We've had amazing people come and talk to us about their experiences around sport, injury, and even just business people talking to us, as well as there's been heaps of, if you want to go get your coaching certificate, anything, if you want a work experience, you can do that in the environment. I guess some athletes think that that rugby is their, is their career, but really it's not as much a career. It's, you play rugby, but it's gonna stop sometime. You just don't know when. It could be one game, I'm touching wood, one game away and you break both your legs. What are you going to do next?
Right. Yeah, nice. So the PD stuff, I think, it's super important. That's what a lot of this podcast actually came out of, was a lot of the professional and personal development that we did. So we kind of would talk about that a little bit more. If they want any resources, just flick them the podcast. Just be like, oh, you should listen to these guys. Nah. But just on that, when you were talking about, beyond footy, you need to have other stuff ready. So I know you're only 20, and I know that this is all new and quite exciting at the same time, but thinking beyond the rugby, what types of things have you lined up or have a little think about? If you haven't, that's fine, but what types of things do you think would be cool to get into?
I definitely agree with you on, when you're young, you can get caught in the excitement of free gear, training every day, it's so easy, you get to go home, But for me personally, it wasn't until COVID hit that it made me sit down and realise, sevens could be taken away from me at any moment, and I really need to have something side by side with rugby, so if something does happen, then I have something to fall back on. I'm not just Jazmin, a rugby player. So I signed up to Massey Uni to study psychology.
Cool.
And my bigger picture is I would love to be in the police force. Not too sure what I want to do yet, whether it be dog handling or mentoring or just on the front line. But that's something that really interests me, and I think it comes from sevens. The values and things you do in sevens can be corresponded to the police force so well. The police is a team, team environment.
Have you been given any chances to experience it yet, or are you lining that up?
So I was fortunate enough last year to go on a police ride, spend a day with the police officers in Mount Maunganui and learn what they do and see what they do every day. And I think the biggest thing I learned is they're real good people.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're amazing people that I could just yarn with, and how much they actually care for others. And I think that's something that I really value as police, especially nowadays. they can be seen as totally different things.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure there is police officers that aren't in the jobs doing the right things, but I love the thought that you can impact, a community, society, other people so much.
You're you're community minded, you care for people, and you're very humble, I guess. I mean, even though you're a celebrity. So let's talk about the celebrity status, I guess, because most of us listening to this right now have never ever had people come up to us, ask us for autographs or ask us for photos. At a young age, we've seen what happens to young superstars like your Justin Biebers and all that sort of stuff, where it can get to them a little bit. How is it that have you had any instances where you're just gosh, I can't believe this is real? But then also, how do you bring yourself back down to earth? Because it seems like your entire life is just I'm just Jazz, I'm around, I'm not better than anyone else. So what types of things do you do, or has someone helped you with to help you just stay grounded? Or is that just the type of person you are?
Well, in our environment, our biggest thing in our environment is the saying, leaving mana in your wake, which means everywhere you go, every environment you step into, you want to have the mindset that I want to leave mana here, I want to influence someone, just being a good person. Absolutely. Really. It's just being a good person.
Yeah.
A few instances, I think, I'm really kind of chill about things, and it's really not until you go into somewhere like Fiji, where we went into a primary school, and literally having them girls that are the ages of 5 to 10 absolutely crying, shouting. They don't actually know who you are, but I think they know what you represent, and they see you as this biggest celebrity in the entire world. And it's not till those moments that you really realise the impact you can actually have on someone. Wearing a black shirt that has a silver fern on it, no one actually realises how big or how much someone sees that as important. And on just beyond that, so you talked about putting on that black jersey and the meaning that comes in behind it. Something that a lot of us will never be able to experience is actually standing on the field representing the nation and then having to sing our national anthem. Can you run us through your first experience, or even any other experience that you've had where you're at that level and the types of emotions that come through? Yeah, well, I made my debut this year at the Sydney Sevens. I was 13th player, so I wasn't actually planned to play that weekend. However, unfortunately, Ruby Tui had got injured day one, and it meant that I would be able to go on the bench. Didn't think I'd get on, but walking out to the final against Canada, singing the national anthem, I just remember standing there and I whispered to Tanika next to me, I was like, I can't stop shaking, I don't know what to do. And she just said, just embrace it, embrace the moment. And water was just rolling down my face, and I just was like, whoa, where's this water coming from? And I just couldn't stop it. And I know also, I just remember looking up to the sky. It sounds cheesy, but feeling my grandparents always supported me through primary until they passed away, and it's just one of those moments where you can physically feel their presence and know that they're, everything you've done before that has led up to that single moment. I know it sounds cheesy,
not at all.
But and just the amount of, I know, finishing that tournament and just, reflecting, it really was, and having so many messages that I, couldn't respond to everyone, that you just realise it's the amount of people. If you were to write a list of the amount of people that helped you get to that single moment, the list would be miles and miles long. There's so many people that have just stepped into your life, whether it's for a week, for a day, been there for years. Yeah. people, man.
People. Absolutely. If you can keep people at the center of everything that you do, I feel like you'll always be doing the best that you can do because you've got so much support. But then at the end of the day, like if you can make all those people happy or you just feel so much more fulfillment than when you're doing it just for yourself. Now, another thing, just when we're thinking about handling yourself as a person, but also being an athlete, you got some game time?
Yes.
Okay, so nerves are a real thing, right? So arousal through the roof, but then with that can come anxiety, and sometimes like you're just shaking, like you're shaking just about to sing the national anthem. Now a ball comes your way, or someone's running at you. Sevens you can't hide, like the field's so huge, and you need to mark your player. How, like, what was the feelings, or like any jelly legs or anything the first time you actually took to the field?
I remember it was our semi-final, so we were semi-finals, finals, so the quarter-final I hadn't got on. I was like, oh, semi-final, I'm fine. I'm definitely not getting on in the semi-final or final. And it was, the semi-final, and then there was only like 2 minutes to go, but in sevens, 2 minutes is a long time. It's only a 14-minute game, and I remember our coach saying, Jazz, get ready, and I was... Are you sure, Vince, you want me to go on? But we were up by like 20 points, so I was like, what's the worst that can happen? And running on the field, and just all the girls, just those little comments like, this is your time, you deserve this. And I think I made one tackle, one pass, probably made one, ran with the ball maybe 10 metres.
Oh, nice.
But... finishing the game, it felt like I'd played the entire game. I think that's something with sevens, is you play 1 minute and it can feel like you've played 80 minutes. But I don't know how I really contained my nerves. I think a part of me was like, this is where I'm meant to be right now.
Awesome.
Yeah. I knew whatever I did, if I had messed up, each player beside me had my back. I think that's what's so amazing about our team culture, is you have the license to express yourself. And no matter who's beside you is going to back you 100%. No,
that's really, really awesome. I think it's such you're so wise for someone your age, and I think you've had really, really good support. Like you keep saying, like it's the different people that you've been influenced by. So like there's some people who start off as really, really good people and then fall in with the wrong crowds, and I mean the same thing. It's your environment that actually grows you, and I think they've got a really good thing going there. So kind of our final question, but this might lead into more questions, but this is more about you as the individual and what you do to maintain yourself and to make sure that you're living life to the best of your ability. So maybe something that you do close to daily.
For me, I think definitely that gratitude one. Going through last year, so the first 6 months of last year, I was recovering, and there were definitely days where girls were playing games and I was on the side just running up and down the field. The girls would go into the changing rooms and I'd be stuck outside running up and down. And a couple of times, you have some tears, and you have those small moments that you're like, do I even want to do this? Like, why am I actually here? I'm not even playing rugby. I'm not too sure what really made the switch. I think my sister Tiana giving me a gratitude journal and 5-minute gratitude journal, and I guess helping me see things from a gratitude lens really switches your whole view on things. Like even when you're in dark times, there's something you can be grateful for in that dark time, and I think that was my biggest thing. Gratitude every time. I love doing cold water immersion, so even a couple of weeks ago was back at the Mount going for swims 8 o'clock in the morning, and I think that's something that also really brings me into the present, and just like looking out to the ocean. I don't know, the ocean really has a effect on you, you know? You just look at it and you're like, what's out there? Just the deep questions. Or standing on top of the mount and looking down at Mount Maunganui, Tauranga. And you're just... I think now it's just going places that fill you with energy, whether
Awesome.
it be people that fill you with energy or environment, being by yourself in an environment that can fill you with energy. But I think that's something day to day I'm really learning to do, is how can I be around things that fill me with positive energy.
And then on the converse is trying to like move away from things that take away from your energy, because there's a lot of things that you can put stuff to where you're like, oh, you're draining me. When you were talking about the mount, I remember, I think it was a few years ago, where I was up there, like I wasn't in the best headspace, and I know this is not about me, but I think this will put all the land stuff into perspective. But I remember standing at this top and just seeing like how vast everything else was, and even though we're on this big mount, it's like a dot in the middle of so many other things, and you're like, all of my problems are like nothing compared to everything else that's in the world right now. And I do agree with, the land can do it for you. And I know when I was in Wellington, like we're lucky, we're coastal. And back in the Cook Islands, like we're coastal as well. So when I came to Dunedin, I didn't actually realise we were so close to water, but I felt so landlocked and like quite pent up. And then until I could actually get out there, that I feel, we're alive right now. So after trainings, do you have like a routine? Or before trainings, do you have a routine?
Well, during summer, once again, amazing place to live. We all, after trainings, head down to the beach and just swim. But yeah, I think my like say game routine is definitely the day before, writing down it's even just sometimes 3 words, just to have on paper, close it, and I won't look at it again. And then the next day, I guess, just once again trying to fill myself with energy. And then after the game, I'm actually someone that quite likes a ice bath and sleep. I love sleep. Yeah.
Cool. So going forward, you're looking at making this a long-term thing. Are there a few goals that you have in terms of your footy, let's say for the next 5 or so years? What's in your sights before we take off today?
Well, it's funny. So when I was in primary school, I had this dream so I had 2 dreams. One dream was I wanted to live in France.
Oh.
I don't know where that came from. I just liked the thought of France. I think it was just, Eiffel Tower. Everyone dreams of France. Yeah. And my second dream was I wanted to go to the Olympics, and I thought I was going to be a sprinter, but I found out real quick I wasn't fast enough, so that changed. But these are 2 things I've always had as a kid growing up, although they've kind of changed. If you don't know, the 2024 Olympics, I'll be 24, is in France. So France, the Olympics, I guess that's my biggest goal. But at the moment, it's definitely next year's Olympics. I might be younger, but yeah, I've got a year to really prove myself and put my hand up for the Olympics.
Fantastic.
But yeah, I think on the outside of rugby, I think it's just, we have this, Ruby Tui, she always shares this equation. Jazmin, take away rugby equals. So I think that's something I'm still trying to figure out at the moment. Yeah.
Well, it's a journey, and we really, really appreciate you coming on today and having a little chat about all of this. So many different things that I think a lot of people can take away, whether you are like an aspiring athlete, you are an athlete, or you're not even an athlete, but you're a person just trying to be better every single day. I think everything that you said really transfers over into all of that. So Jazz, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
To our 2 listeners, go follow her on Instagram, and also you should probably shout out your sports agent.
And I'd just like to shout out my sports agent, Jazmin Hotham. I mean, she hasn't got me much at the moment, but if you're looking for a sports agent in probably 10 years, she's the go-to.
Perfect. All right, so we've had both of these girls, lovely girls on, and I think there's plenty to look out for in the future. So enjoy the rest of your lives, people, and take care.